Hey guys, I'm back with a new video. In this video, we are going to create a virtual assistant like Alexa. So let us see a quick demo for this project. So let me run the file real quick and let me give a command first. Current time.
The current time is 10:37 a.m.
Search.
Do you want me to search for? Please type. Here are the results for the search term. Elephants.
Screenshot.
Screenshot taken.
COVID stats. Tell me a joke.
NCO expert walks into a bar, bars, pub, public house, Irish pub, tavern, bartender, beer, liquor, wine, alcohol, spirit.
Okay, so you saw everything worked fine. And here is our screenshot as well. And my desktop notification also worked when I queried for COVID stats. So now without a further ado, let's get started. So for this project, I would be needing a couple of Python libraries that you would need to install. So assuming that you already have Python installed onto your system, let us quickly install a couple of packages using the pip command. So let us first install the speech recognition package. So to install the package, you have to run the command install speech recognition. So I already have this package installed onto my system, so I will not be running this command. So now we need to import this package at the top. Import speech recognition as SR. Next, we need a text-to-speech conversion library. So in this project, I will be using PyTSX3 for this purpose. So to install it, run the command pip install PyTSX3. And then press enter. So once it is installed successfully, go ahead at the top and import it. So import PyTSX3. Now we will be needing a couple of other packages as well, which we'll install later, so no worries for now. Next, to access your microphone with the speech recognizer, you will have to install the PyAudio package. So go ahead and install it onto your system. So to install it, you just have to run the command pip install PyAudio and press enter. The link for an article explaining the complete installation can be found down below in the description section of this video. Now as the very first step, let us set up the engine instance. So for this, we have to call the init method on the PyTSX3 package. And this loads a speech engine driver for us. So let us store this in a variable and let's name it as engine. Next, we need to grab the current value of the voices engine property. So engine dot get property, and here we want to get the current value of the voices property, and let us store the return value in a variable. Let's name it as voices. So this will return us the voice descriptor objects which we can store in a variable, which is the voices. Next, we need to set up an engine property. So let us set the property name. So engine dot set property voice, and set this to voices1 dot id. With this, we will get the female voice. For male voice, you can change the index to 0, and that should do the trick. Now if you want to understand more on PyTSX3 module, I will leave a link for its documentation down below. Now as a next step, let us create a function to accept a command from the user. So let us name it as input query. So def input query. Now inside this function, we first need to set up a recognizer instance. So on the speech recognizer package, we have the recognizer class. So all of the magic in the speech recognition happens within this recognizer class. The overall purpose of the recognizer instance is of course to recognize speech. Each instance can be configured with a variety of settings and functionalities for recognizing speech from an audio source. So feel free to tweak them according to your requirements. So let us set up the recognizer instance. So on this speech recognizer package, we are invoking this recognizer, and this will spit out a recognizer instance. So let me store that in a variable and let's name it as recognizer. Now we need to set up the source of recognition, which in our case will be the microphone. So for me it will be my recording mic. So here let us make use of the with block, and on the speech recognition package let us invoke the microphone to get an instance of the microphone. So for that let us use an alias and let us name it as source. Now right inside the with block let us log to the terminal recognition is on. Next, on the recognizer instance let us set up the pause threshold property and give this a value of 0.7. Now that we have already set up a microphone instance, it's time to capture some input. Now to capture the input from microphone, we can make use of the listen method on the recognizer instance. So recognizer.listen, and as its first argument we need to pass in the source, and this method in turn will record the input from the source as long as there is some voice or someone is speaking. Make sense? So let us store this in a variable. Let's name it as voice. Next, let us add a try except block. So here on the recognizer instance, we have the recognizer Google method that is the part of the Google Web Search API to which we can pass the voice. So recognizer.recognize Google, and here we need to pass the voice, and to it let us chain the lower method to convert whatever we get to lowercase. And all this method does is that it transcribes any speech in the recording that we pass to it, which is there in our voice variable. Makes sense? And then we are also tacking on the lower method to convert the transcribed text that we get to lowercase, and let us store the returned value in a variable. So let us name the variable as query, and then let us log it to the terminal. This is the query that was made. Now next to our try block we have our except block, and this takes on an exception if one occurs, and let us log it to the terminal like this. And then right after our print statement let us return the query. Now to see this function in action, let me create a new function and let's name it as activate_VA. So VA is short for virtual assistant. So def activate_VA, and in here let us invoke the input query function that we just defined. So input query, and this will return us the query that the user gives. So let us store this in a variable and name it as user query. And now let us log it to the terminal. So print user query ... user_query. Now right down here let us set up a while loop. So while true, and here let us invoke our activate VA function like this. Now in order to test this, head over to the terminal and run the command python virtual assistant.py. So it says recognition is on, testing 1 2. Okay, so you can see it logs the user query to the terminal, testing 1 2. So this works, right? So we are not done yet. Let us add functionalities to our virtual assistant. Let us say the user wants to know the time of the day, just as I showed you in the demo. So for that let us set up a report_time function. So right here let us create our report time functions. So def report_time. So for this I will make use of the datetime module. Now this is a core module of the Python library. I do have a separate video on same that explains this module in great detail. The link for the same can be found in the description of this video. So let us go right at the top and import it first. Import datetime. Now on the datetime package we have the datetime property. So datetime.datetime, and on that property we can call the now method. Now let me demo this in the Python shell. So right here let us run Python, and here first import the datetime package, and then let us say datetime.datetime.now. So it gives us today's date along with some timestamp as a datetime object. Now on this I want to call the strftime to format it to extract the time components. So to get the time we have to use the strftime method, and here we need to specify the format. So %i colon %m and %p. Press enter. So this gives me 11:48 AM, right? So let me copy this and paste it right here. Now let's call this as current time. So current time, and now let us return the current time down here. So return current time. Now to see this in action, let us go to our activate VA function. So here we need to check for the query. So if in the query term that we as a user speak in the microphone contains the word time, so if time in user underscore query, then we need to call the report time function that we just defined. Make sense? So let us call our report time function and store the result of that in a variable, and let's name it as current time. And for now, let us log it to the terminal to see if this works or not. So print and use an if string. The current time is current time. Now in order to test this, let us head over to the terminal and run the command python virtualassistant.py time. So it says the current time is 11:51 AM. Now this works, but this is not complete yet. We want our virtual assistant to actually inform us the result via voice. So for this, let us set up a new function and let's name it as speak_va. So right here, let us create our speak_va function, and this will receive our transcribed query, which is of course in form of text, and all we have to do here is to invoke a couple of methods on the engine instance. So in order to make our virtual assistant speak, we first need to invoke the same method on our engine instance, so engine.say, and to it we need to pass our transcribed query. Lastly, we need to invoke the run and wait method on the engine instance, so engine.run and wait. So with that out of the way, let us go to the line where we are invoking the report time function. So right here, let us invoke the speak_va function so that it can report us the current time via audio. So let me copy this and paste it right here. Now in order to test this out, let us head over to the terminal and give this a try. So python virtualassistant.py current time.
The current time is 11:55 AM.
So you can see this works like a charm. Now as a next step, let us define a function for opening a website. So the idea here is that user will give a command to the virtual assistant to open a specific website. So to set this up, next to this if conditional, let us add an elif and check for the term open website in user query. So right here, we first want the virtual assistant to ask what website does the user wants to visit. So speak_va. Please type the name of the website that you want to open. Specify the full URL and a new line character. Now let us take this as input from the user. So use the input function. So we'll read a string as a prompt from the user, and let us store this in a variable and name it as website_name. And now let us import the web browser package, and this package comes bundled with the Python standard installation, so we don't need to install it. So right here, import web browser. Let us also log the website name to the terminal. Now to open the website that the user requests for, let us call the open method on the web browser package. But before that, we need to set our Chrome directory. So for me it is this. Now let us call the open method on the web browser package, and to it let us pass the website name. So here we are adding the full path for Chrome to open it in the Chrome browser, and we are using the get method that is there in the web browser package. Now in order to test this, let us head over to the terminal and run the command python virtual assistant.py open website.
Please type the name of the website that you want to open. Specify the full URL.
This opens the instagram.com for us. And here let us make the VA speak, so speak_VA, and f string website name opened. So let us again give this a whirl. Python virtual assistant.py open website.
Please type the name of the website that you want to open. Specify the full URL. Instagram.com opened.
So you can see this worked. Next, let us make use of the Wikipedia API. So for this, let us first install the Wikipedia package. So head over to the terminal and run the command pip install Wikipedia. So I already have it installed on my system. So once you are done with the installation, go right at the top and add an import for it. So import Wikipedia. And here we need to check for the term Wikipedia in user query. Now right here, let us first invoke the speak_VA function and let us say searching on Wikipedia. Next, we need to pass the user query that the user supplies via voice to the summary method that is available on the Wikipedia package. So wikipedia.summary, and to it we pass the user query. And let us format the returned results to give 4 sentences. Now this invocation will return us the result, so let us store the result in a variable and let us name it as result. Now before informing the result via voice, let us first log it to the terminal, so print result. And then let us make our virtual assistant speak now, so speak_VA. So just pass the returned results to the speak_VA function. So with this in place, let us give this a whirl. So let us run our file python virtual assistant.py programming Wikipedia.
Searching on Wikipedia. Wikipedia, listen, wiki or listen, wiki is a free.
Okay, so this doesn't work. So let me replace in my user query the word Wikipedia with an empty strings. So with this slight change, let us try this out. What is programming Wikipedia?
Searching on Wikipedia. In computer science, imperative programming is a programming paradigm that uses statements that change a program's state. In much the same way that the imperative mood in natural languages expresses commands, an imperative program consists of...
So you can see now this worked. Next, let us make use of another Python package called as pyjokes. And using this, the user will be presented with a joke. So first we need to install this package. So let us go right inside the terminal, and to install the package, type the command pip install pyjokes and press enter. So I've already installed it onto my system. Next, you need to import it at the top. So import pyjokes. Now next to this elif, let us add another elif. And let us check for the word joke in our user query. So right here, let us invoke the getJoke method on the pyjokes package. So pyjokes.getJoke. And let us wrap this in a print statement. Or better, let us store this in a variable. So let us name the variable as random joke and print the random joke to the terminal. Also, let us invoke the speak_VA function so that we get the output via audio. So let us pass the random joke to it like this. Now to test this, head over to the terminal and run the command python virtual assistant.py tell me a joke.
In C we had to code our own bugs. In C++ we can inherit them.
Okay, so this works. Now let us say the user wants to take a screenshot of the screen at some point of time. For this we would need to install a separate package first. So head over to the terminal and run the command pip install pyautogui. make sure to add an import statement for this package at the top. So import pyautogui. Now right here, let us add an if conditional. So if the user query contains the term screenshot, so this should be elif, then run the following code block. So right here, let us invoke the screenshot method on the pyautogui package. So pyautogui dot screenshot, and let us store the returned snapshot in a variable, and let's name it as image. Next we need to save the image. So on the image variable, let us call the save method, and to it we need to supply the name with which we want to save it. So let us use the name screenshot.png, and then as an audio feedback, let us invoke the speak_va function and say screenshot taken. So now let us give this a whirl. So python virtual assistant.py take a screenshot.
Screenshot taken.
So here is our screenshot that you can see. So this works. Now before ending this video, let us add two more functionalities. The first one is to perform a Google search. So right next to this conditional, let us add an elif, and here we want to check for the word search in user query. Now let's make the virtual assistant speak. So speak_va. What do you want me to search for? Please type. So let us collect the term that the user types using the input function, and let us store the term that the user is looking for in a variable, and let's name it as search term. Next, let us prepare our search URL. So here let us make use of f-strings and interpolate our search term in the search query. So https://google.com/search, then our query, and here we interpolate the search term like this. And finally we need to open the URL in the browser to see the results. So for this we can again make use of the web browser module, and here again I want to open it in my Chrome browser. So let me grab this line and paste it right here, and to it, instead of passing the website name, we need to pass the search URL. Finally, let us inform the user about the results that the virtual assistant got. So we can again invoke our speak_va function, and here let us pass an f-string. Here are the results for the search term, and let us interpolate the search term here as well. So with this in place, let us give this a whirl. So head over to the terminal and run the command python virtual assistant.py search.
What do you want me to search for? Please type.
JavaScript.
Here are the results for the search term, JavaScript.
So you can see this works. Now finally, let us say we want a desktop notification to pop up regarding the COVID-19 world statistics. So for this, let us make use of a module called as plyer, which is a third-party module. So head over to the terminal and run the command pip install plyer. So plyer. And once you are done with the installation, go right at the top and import something from the plyer module. So that something is the notification class. So from plyer import notification. So I already have plyer installed onto my system. Now let us go to our conditionals, and in here let us add an elif. So if the user query contains the word COVID stats, then the following code block will get executed. So let us define the code for this check. So on the notification class, we have a notify method. And to it we need to supply a couple of arguments. So first one is title. Let us set this to COVID-19 statistics. Then the second argument is message, and let us add pending for now, because this is something that we will interpolate in just a minute. And then we also need a timeout, so currently set this to 2. Next we need a couple of packages for doing the web scraping work. So here we will be performing web scraping on a particular website to grab the COVID stats from that. So in order for this to work, you need to install 2 packages. The first one is BS4, which is for beautiful soup, and the second one is the request package, which we will use to make our API calls to a remote URL. So I already have these packages installed onto my system. So let us go right at the top and import these packages right here. So from BS4 import beautiful soup, and then let us import our request package, and let me comment this for now. Now to grab HTML data for web scraping from a website, we will be using the website worldometers.info/coronavirus, and here I basically want to scrap this last row, so the total cases, the new cases, and the total recovered, right? And I want to present these statistics as a desktop notification at the bottom right corner of our screen. Make sense? So as a very first step, let us define a function and name it as make request. So right here, let us define our make request function, and this takes on a URL as an argument. So making a request is very easy using the requests module. I do have a complete video explaining the requests module. The link for the same can be found in the I button at the top right corner of this video. So let us hit the URL and issue a get request to this URL to basically grab the HTML data that it gives us. So it gives us some response, and then let us return the response.text. And now let us go back to our conditional for COVID stats, and here we need to invoke our make request function and pass in the URL for the page for which we want to grab the HTML data, which is this URL. So let me copy this and paste it right here. So we are making a request, a get request to this URL, and this will return us some HTML data. And then let us print the HTML data to the terminal. So print HTML data and give this a whirl. So Python virtual assistant.py COVID stats. So here you can see we are getting loads of HTML being logged to our terminal. Now the next step is to do web scraping. So here we need to make use of the HTML parser for parsing over the HTML code that we get. So let us make use of the beautiful soup package for this. So let us comment this line first and say beautiful soup. And now as the first argument, we need to pass in the HTML data that we want to parse. So HTML data, which is our markup, and then we need to specify the parser, which is html.parser, and let us store the returned thingy in a variable, and let's name it as soup. Now let us head over to our website and click on inspect. So using the soup variable, we want to reach out to the DOM that we are being presented here and look for all the TRs that have this class of total row, which you can see if we inspect this. So we need to grab the last row of this table. So to do that, let us head over to Visual Studio Code. So we can say soup.find all. So I'm looking for all the TRs with the class of total underscore row. And to grab the last row of the table, we can make use of the index of -1, which is the first row from the end of the table. And let us store this in a variable, and let's name it as total global row. Now as the next step, we want to grab the total cases that are shown in the last row. So we have the last row with us in this variable, total global row. We want to use the index of 2 that refers to the third column. So third column of our last row, which represents this number. So for the row, we want to find all the TDs. So each of these cells is a TD, right? And we want to grab the third TD, which we can reference by using the index of 2. So this is 0, this is 1, and this is 2, right? 2. And then I want to get its inner HTML, so that we can get using get_text. And let us store this in a variable total cases. Now let us do the same for new cases and total recovered. So for the new cases, it is the fourth column. So let me copy this and paste it down below and change this to new cases. And for column 4, we use an index of 3. And then total recovered, which is the 7th column of the last row. So for that, we need to use the index of, so let me say 6. Now let us print the total cases, the new cases, and the total recovered to the terminal. So print total cases. New cases and total recovered. Now for the new cases, we will also get this plus sign, right? So in order to get rid of it, let us just grab this figure starting from index 1 till the end of the string. So let us try this out. So right here, we can say 1 colon. So start from index 1 and go on till the end of the string. So basically grab this thing and omit the plus. Okay. So now let us give this a whirl. Python virtual assistant.py COVID stats. So you can see we are getting these figures being logged to our terminal. Now next, what I would like to do is to throw a pop-up or kind of a notification in the bottom right corner of our screen, just as I described a while back. And in that notification, we will be passing all these statistics that we scrapped from the website. So we already saw the syntax for issuing a notification. So let me cut this from here and paste it right here. So first we have our title, then the message that we want to display, which will show the total cases, the new cases, and the total recovered. And we will make use of f strings. So let us prepare a variable notification message and go right here, notification message, and let us make use of f strings. So here first I will say total cases and interpolate the total cases variable, and then add a new line character, then new cases and interpolate new cases, then add a new line character and total recovered and interpolate the total recovered variable like this and add a new line character. Now here I want to say 1 colon. Then next, as our third argument, we pass the timeout, which represents the total time for which we want to display the pop-up. So let us keep this as 5 seconds. And finally, let us make our virtual assistant speak. Here are the stats for COVID-19. So with this in place, let us give this a whirl. Python virtual assistant.py COVID stats.
Here are the stats for COVID-19.
So you can see we are getting this notification message right at the bottom right corner of our screen. So you can see everything works like a charm. We also got our notification that was there nearly for 5 seconds. Now you can go on and further extend this project by adding on extra features. Make sure to share your implementation by tagging me on Twitter. So if you like the video, do give it a thumbs up or comment down below if you have any query. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys in the very next one.